What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another weekend review show here on Run Pure Sports channel. I am your host, JSU, and we got my two guys back with me again, Third and Schlong, and Mr. Big Daddy Phallic himself, K Phallic. And I got to start with K Phallic here. Phallic, you're on a roll. You had a nice little showdown winner, I think, 2 days ago. You owned me with Quentin Morris. If you want to talk about that, you can, or the Giants for that matter. You were yelling at me on the Showdown show yesterday in the chat, telling me to stop reviewing games from yesterday because that's for this show. So let's review games here, buddy. What do you got?
It was an interesting week overall. A lot of, I would say, the games did not go as I would have expected for some spots. The Buffalo New York Giants game definitely did not go as I expected. But it worked out for me overall, to say the least. Got third place, threw 150 in. I don't normally throw 150 in, but I felt like there was an edge with the slate overall, and it worked out. Quentin Morris felt like he was in the game a lot more than he actually was. He was in the game for the one play that mattered. For me, is the easiest way to put it. And when you got a $200 guy, and that's what I said, is that the cheap pieces were going to be the way that you win this slate, and it was the case. I would have, like, it's just the game was frustrating. Tyrod Taylor not thinking about how do you play football when there's 10 seconds left in the first half cost me $50,000. Tyrod Taylor not knowing what he's doing in the first half and then still not knowing what he's doing in the second half cost me $50,000. Just a lot of dump offs to Saquon and shit like that. So, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go.
I'll be back in a minute.
I will say, too, I'm glad you brought up the fact that he wasn't actually on the field as much because he wasn't. Like, literally, I was like, this guy caught a touchdown at the end of the game, and I'm glad for Phallic he did. But like he was not playing as much as I thought. Honestly, I thought he wasn't going to play that much, but he got it done for Phallic in the end. I know, Bryce, you had a nice little day on FanDuel. You had a nice little FanDuel. What was it? Was it last night that you shipped or the night before?
Yeah,
I
it
can't
was
remember.
Last night's game. I won the $9 and the $5. Same team. I think it paid $15K in total. Or that was what I returned. So that was with my other teams. I think the winner paid 13.5 if you had it on both. So little 14 into, almost 14K was nice. Obviously I won 50. So I think that was 2,100 total entry. I'm sure you'll show the team. We will review that team in a bit. But I mean, last night's team was, I thought last night's slate was super fun, even with, you get two horrible coaches that, like, these teams should be so much better, and they're both just absolute idiots. I mean, you look at what the Chargers do in short yardage, and it just makes no sense to me. Yeah, I mean, Staley is, it would not surprise me if he got fired. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, he's definitely getting fired. It was kind of a frustrating game from that standpoint, but it was, a much more enjoyable 2017 game than like you normally see. And if you guys are talking about bad football, we have a ugly main slate this upcoming week. There is one game with over a 45 total.
Worse than last week's slate? Because this past slate,
the totals are
too.
42, 37.5, 40, 38, 41, 39, 44, 43.5, 49, 44. It is it is not a great
there are six teams on the bye. We're like in the middle of like now bye season is the way to put it. And you got Vikings, Eagles, Dolphins, 49ers, and
is it week 7 now, Phallic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jags, Saints. Jags, Saints, and then obviously in Dolphins, Eagles, 49ers, and Vikings.
Yeah, Dolphins, Eagles would be a super fun game to have on the main. But that'll be a fun showdown. I wish that was like a Monday or a Thursday game just because Sunday night prizes aren't quite as good.
Yeah, I don't know why either, because everyone plays the Sunday night. They must just, maybe they have like a little downtick because it is Sunday night, I guess, and everyone's still
It's
getting their stuff in from the main slate.
They don't have time to reinvest. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's
everyone's waiting on the payouts to make it bigger, but I always feel like Sunday night feels kind of early. So
that's how I feel too, but maybe it's not.
I feel
we're wrong.
I feel they could be a little more aggressive with it. We got $50K to hockey tonight for anyone who likes hockey. Got totally revamped.
100K,
100K.
It's
100K
awesome.
too.
Oh, I didn't even notice that the higher buy-in was.
Yeah, the 360 Spinorama is up there. There's 925. If you're into hockey, 925 people can enter. I think 27 lineups is the max you can enter in that one. It's 100K to first, 300K total prize pool. I mean, for hockey contests go, Phallic, I know you're kind of big into the hockey streets a little bit. Like, that's a pretty sizable contest right there for hockey.
It's gonna fill in the next 2 hours, I would say, also, which is just hilarious to me. It's already at 600.
That is insane.
It's already
gonna
at
fill in 2 hours.
It's already at 600 of 925, so I think it's a couple hours away.
Should I play one lineup after just bitching about hockey all day yesterday on the show? Should I play one lineup?
I absolutely think you should. I think you'd enjoy it.
Hockey.
I made some good money in the hockey streets last night.
So here's the thing.
I'm playing one.
I don't despise hockey. Like, some people despise hockey. Like, I don't despise it. I actually grew up. One of my closest friends played hockey his whole life. Played in college. Now coaches the college team he plays for. He's one of my closest friends, and Assumption College hockey. But like, I grew up around it, so like, I don't hate it. I loved skating. I loved rollerblading. I was a big fan of it. I just I don't know, Phallic, I can't get into the game as much when I watch it as I can like football.
It's because of DFS hockey is harder because you have 4 lines of 3 people that are very consistently playing, and if your line is not the one that scores, you're just like, well, shit, now I have to keep trying to hope that my line is scoring. It's not like when your line's going to be on the field or on the court or anything like that. Right. So it's a little harder for sure in that way.
But maybe
I like sweating the power plays.
That's what I was going to say. Like, so you want probably guys that, obviously are in some of the higher lines, but also play on the power play lines, right, Phallic? That's kind of like one of the keys to it for sure.
Yeah, but you have to hope that you get the guys you have to hope that you get a handful of power plays in the game. It's just there are a lot of factors that go into it, and it's not. I don't think it's very easy.
And then on top of it, don't you want your goalie to get peppered with shots and get obviously to save, but you want them to get peppered.
Yeah, you want them to get peppered, but you want them to make saves. So it's like, correct. Really, you're like, oh, I want the bad defense, but I need the goalie who's going to save the puck the whole time.
Yeah, you need the good goalie with the bad defense, or like the good offense against the good goalie, and just hope the good goalie wins out. Kind of like, a good pitcher going up against a good offense and just hoping the pitcher can get it done. Like, it's kind of the same thing, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
But
this football week was all about injuries again, which is just crazy. It's just it is injuries are everywhere again, and it's tough. David Montgomery, who else got hurt?
Those guys though, like Kyron Williams, David Montgomery, these guys that are just workhorse guys that are just getting so many touches. What do you expect? Kyron Williams is not a big dude. Like, he's not a big dude. I'm stunned it's taken him this long to get hurt the way they've been using him.
I'm stunned they brought him back into the game.
Me too.
Like, he got hurt, and then he continued to play on it. I know
Cooper
if you
Kupp,
had him, that was
Cooper
huge.
Kupp have his ankle wrap too, Bryce?
Yeah, he rolled it very early in the game.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me with some of these injuries and how, and I think their backup got hurt. Didn't like Ronnie Rivers get hurt too, or something like that? So
Zach Evans. Zach Evans is
Kyron played.
He's going to be out. Maybe. Ronnie Rivers is going to be out for 4 to 5 weeks, is what they just announced. So you got Zach Evans as their only running back that's on the active roster right now that's going to be playing. Obviously, they'll bring in some practice squad guys.
Is Kyron out definitely?
They're saying he's out 1 to 2 weeks easy, and he could be. Okay. It's going to be a lingering injury, is all they said. But it
would not surprise me if he went on IR.
Yeah,
he is. I was stunned that he made it. when he started getting the work in week 1 and week 2, I'm sitting there, I'm going, I love Kyron Williams, but I'm sitting there going, man, if they're going to keep doing this to him, he's going to get hurt at some point. It's a matter of time. You know what I mean? Even Achane, like, he's a small guy too. Like, that's probably why they were really careful with how many like touches they were giving him in the beginning, because they know it too. Like, he's a small frame guy. We got to keep him healthy and stuff. But like, man, it's just it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it goes. Sometimes you keep pounding those dudes, and they're eventually going to get hurt. They're just so small. But hopefully it's just 1 to 2 weeks for Kyron, because he's been awesome. The way they use the running back, though, you got to be interested in the Rams running back situation, especially if it's going to be one guy, right, Fallick?
I don't think it's going to be one guy, first of all.
Okay.
But
they always use one guy, though. That's always how they use
McVay's a
running
one
backs.
guy type of player. It just depends how much he likes Zach Evans.
I was about to
He
say,
uses
I don't think he
wide
loves.
receivers. He uses one running back. He's very like those wide receivers play all the game. Like you won't like it, Fallick. You won't like if you know.
Oh, I'll like it. He's 4K, but they have Royce Freeman is on their practice squad right now, and I'm sure they'll go and pick up somebody. Yeah, Zach Evans is on the active roster. He's a rookie from Mississippi.
I mean, he has to be better than Royce Freeman.
Oh, he's very talented. He's a very talented player. Like he was a guy that he flip-flopped a lot of times. You'll remember, Bryce may remember, he flip-flopped from Texas to TCU, Texas to TCU, ended up going to TCU, got in trouble at TCU, transferred to Mississippi and played a few years at Mississippi, and everybody thought he was going to be the big thing. And then Judkins came in, and they were splitting all the carries between the two of them. So Zach Evans was a former 5-star recruit, very talented player, like really talented for sure. So and he's 4K, but
that's on the main slate. That's on the main slate. The Rams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's who do they play?
They play the Steelers at home at 4:25.
All right. I like that. I definitely like that. But let's go back. Let's go back through some of these games, and we can start with last night's game real quick. Bryce already touched on it from obviously the standpoint that he shipped on FanDuel, but from the game perspective, I thought one of the things you said, Bryce, that you hit on perfectly was for a 20-17 game. It was actually kind of exciting. Like, I felt like it was like a good watch, like the whole way through. I thought it was, were there spots where I thought there were some bad plays or a lot of flags at some points. Yes, there was a lot of flags at certain points that were annoying, some tough calls. But man, Justin Herbert, he played horrible, like absolutely horrible. Keenan Allen should have had 3 touchdowns and easily 150 to 200 yards receiving. I mean, some of those balls he threw over Keenan Allen's head on wide open double moves or just corner outs on, in the end zone was insane to me. I mean, he was throwing it way over his head on wide open plays. And I get it. Dallas defense is tough. They pressure.
No, they're not. No.
I'm
Dallas,
just saying, okay.
No.
They're you can pass on Dallas for sure. You can throw on Dallas because their corners, they play aggressive and they jump routes, which you saw. Bland jumped the route twice and he got beat and obviously should have resulted in touchdowns, but didn't. But I'm just saying their pass rush, Fallick, like Micah Parsons, Lawrence, they've got some guys who can rush the passer. Oh, that's all I'm saying. But you can beat them through the air, and Justin Herbert just didn't have it last night.
It's because they play so aggressively.
Correct.
They'll play for the big play. I mean, their defense should have scored more points. I mean, they had 1 or 3 points in sacks and interceptions. And, I mean, Herbert just missed the easy throws last night. And that and a combination of bad coaching will do it every time.
Not only that, though, he didn't even take some of the easy throws. I thought he didn't use Austin Eckler enough in the passing game. Usually he uses Austin Eckler a lot in the passing game, to create those 2nd and 5s, 2nd and 3s, those shorter second downs. And he just didn't. They had that success on the first play, that screen pass that got them down the field, right? And then after that, they ran one other screen pass to Eckler where literally that could have been a touchdown, but Dexter Lawrence tipped the ball. If he didn't tip the ball, Austin Eckler has a really good chance to score on that play. And they don't use him the rest of the game pretty much in the passing game outside of the one throw where he was late. And Austin Eckler would have scored on that one throw if he wasn't late throwing the ball. He was wide open, absolutely wide open, and he just didn't give him the ball in time and threw a bad pass on top of it. It was a tough game for Justin Herbert. The Chargers should have won that game, I thought, for sure. But the Chargers do what the Chargers do every single time, and I've said this for weeks. They will just disappoint you. Every time you think they have so much talent and they underperform with that talent year in and year out, and Staley just has to go. Because at some point, the coach has to be to blame for all the talent that they have, and it for years, and they still haven't won. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Alex just sitting there going, I don't know.
You can't sum it up any better.
Yeah. Injuries have been also one of their biggest issues as well, in my opinion. So, there's that. I think that the Quentin
Injuries
Johnson
didn't affect last game.
Quentin Johnson was a terrible draft pick, in my opinion. If you're looking for a ready-to-go wide receiver, I don't think he was a good draft pick in that way. I don't know. They're a team that I think I don't know. Justin Herbert's is not a top quarterback, in my opinion. I've never thought he was, but that's my. opinion.
Falik, even if you don't like Quentin Johnston, they still have enough. They have Josh Palmer, Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett, serviceable. They have players. Austin Eckler, obviously, They have good players. Josh Palmer is underrated. I don't think people understand. I think
he's very.
And he was wide open in that game. A few plays where Justin Herbert just didn't throw him the football on huge spots.
It was the
two penalties.
The two frustrating things to me was Josh Palmer should have completely crushed the slate, and Dak should have just thrown it to CeeDee Lamb 500 times based off of how good CeeDee looked.
That was insane to me how Dak decides that he, after the first drive or two drives of the game, he's just going to decide to not to throw it to Michael Gallup 10 times, right? Let's just pepper Michael Gallup when CeeDee Lamb's just running wide open the whole game. And let's make Gallup work. Let's make Gallup a thing. I didn't understand that at all. It was very
Gallup
confusing
sucks.
to me. He sucks. Yeah.
He should have had a monster game. Dropped a touchdown. Could have made a second play on a touchdown.
He had
10 targets or something like that.
Yeah, he had 8 or 10 targets, something crazy like that. At a certain point, some of those targets got to go to CD. I'm sorry. If you're CD Lamb, you got to be dude, come on. The middle of the field is wide open. Even Troy Aikman's dude, they're playing these two safety every single play. They're playing these two safeties back here. Look at the middle of the field. And I'm sitting there. I'm just it's CeeDee Lamb. This should be CeeDee Lamb in the slot all day. And that is wide open anytime they want it. And they just nah, let's do something else. Let's throw it up to Michael Gallup 10 times. It's a good idea. So anything else from that game? No. All right, let's move on. Any other games from the week that you guys want to discuss, whether it be the other primetime game, the Giants, or any other game from the main slate that caught your eye? Kevin?
I think we have to just discuss that. What are we doing with Cincinnati Bengals at this point in this? It's a game that we always like playing Cincinnati because they're very direct players who that they're going to be playing. It's a small amount of options. They're talented players, and then we like running it back with players in that spot, and it's just continued to disappoint this season. Seahawks are one of the worst defenses also over the past however many years. I'm not sure they are this year, but we loved attacking it, always did, but you can say they aren't this year, but. We talked about it last couple weeks ago. They gave up 30, 31, and 27 in their first 3 games, and then they played the Giants. So I'm not sure you can say the Seahawks are a good defense, but
I'm not saying they're like the stout, like overpowering great defense, but I don't think they're the bottom tier defense either. I think they're somewhere in the middle.
Yep, but the question is, what are we doing with Cincinnati and their opponent this year? Like, it's just I've hit a point where I'm like, okay, this is just not working out for us.
So the big game that Cincy had was against Arizona, and Arizona blitzes at by far the lowest rate in the NFL. I think it's like 17% or something like that, and that was probably to a huge detriment because Burrow. I mean, if you get pressure on him, he can't fucking move. I mean, his ankle's clearly still hurt. I mean, everyone thought after last week, myself included, you'll see my teams. I played Mixon on FanDuel and Chase on DraftKings. I mean, they were super high owned, but I mean, Mixon has lead feet. I don't know why that guy gets a new contract. I mean, he has such an elite workload and just does nothing with it except for like his random 5-touchdown game last year, which totally screwed me. I never get Mixon right. He is like my DFS kryptonite.
He's the worst. He'll have one game this year where he scores like 2 or 3 touchdowns and we'll tilt. But outside of that one game, that anomaly, I don't think you honestly, this is how I get, and this is probably a cop-out answer, but you just play, if you want to play Jamar Chase, that's fine. Outside of that, why? Like, why? Why are we playing Bengals on big slates? Like, outside of Jamar Chase, I just don't see it. I don't know. So
other quick thought. Go ahead, Bryce.
No, I was just saying. You'll see. I played Stafford, who ran pretty bad over Burrow straight up on DraftKings. So yeah, I mean, I had some concerns about the Cincy offense, but I mean, not enough to pass on like Chase.
Yeah.
Other things I'll throw out is just once you look at what injuries were the week before, we now know what these teams are. Vikings without Justin Jefferson, definitely not as good. Bears without Justin Fields, definitely not as good. You have 49ers without CMC and Deebo Samuel, definitely not as good. The Saints, I think, are a team, an overrated team, or the Texans are a good team. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of those. And then these afternoon games were god awful.
The Texans are solid.
Yeah, the afternoon games, I was like falling asleep during. I was like halfway when it was halftime. I was like, I think 50 points may win it this week in the afternoon slate. It was pretty rough time watching these afternoon games. I don't know if y'all felt the same way, but I went and took a nap during the afternoon.
I
games,
definitely
felt
this. I definitely felt the same way about the afternoon games. They were very boring. Tough time just standing there watching through them, but. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that there were a few things that, you could take away. First of all, the Bears without Justin Fields, Deontay Foreman, I think we thought was going to get more work, and they worked in the other guy a little bit more than I thought, honestly, Evans, in my opinion. But he also had chances close to the goal line that, he didn't get. So, he was fine, I guess. That was probably a mistake by me, though. I assumed he would get a heavy workload, and he didn't get as much of a workload as I thought, honestly. So that was probably a bad play by me. Chuba Hubbard's good, is something that I knew before that game. I knew going into the year he was good. I love Chuba Hubbard, but I think he's just a real good backup that – honestly, looks better than Miles Sanders. Just straight up, like Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard looks better. That's how I see it there. And why are we not just playing Tyreek Hill every week? I try to tell everyone that he's just by far the best right now. He's gonna break like a ton of records as long as he plays every single game. He's gonna shatter records, and we should be playing him every week.
I mean, this Miami offense is just insane. There's nothing else to be said. They have the most yards in NFL history. I mean, it's pretty remarkable what they're doing. I'm really excited for some of these Dolphins games coming up. They have a pretty tough run of a schedule. I mean, they play in Philadelphia, and I think it's surprising they're only 1-point dogs. It just goes to show you what a good team they are. And then they play the Chiefs in London, I think.
Yeah.
Or
No, Germany, Munich or whatever.
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt, yeah.
Interesting. So they play Miami next, Philly. That's this week that they play.
That's the Sunday night game.
So
they play Philly.
Didn't they sit Darius Slay and Jalen Carter last week? Weren't they
Carter
both
played.
out? Oh, Carter played.
Okay, they have
Darius Slay was
Philadelphia.
out.
Then they have New England, which is actually I think it's going to be more interesting than we think on, especially with Tyreek Hill, because they're gonna, Belichick's going to do whatever he can to stop at least just Tyreek Hill, and then figure out what's going to happen there. And then
the one thing though is last game they played, they had Christian Gonzalez, who Tyreek Hill even gave credit to, saying he was one of the tougher covers he's had all year, and that kid is legit really good. But you're right, they know how to scheme against Tyreek a little bit. But I will say that's like a big downgrade going from him to, like, who are they going to put on him? J.C. Jackson now? Like,
the answer is yes.
That's the word.
The answer is yes, J.C. Jackson. But then they have who do they have after that? I'm blanking. But the week after Thanksgiving, they're the standalone Thanksgiving game on the Friday after Thanksgiving. It's the first ever Black Friday game.
Chiefs.
And
no,
they have Chiefs.
Raiders, Jets.
Yeah, so they have Chiefs, and then they have the Raiders. I don't know what to expect there. And then the Jets is the first ever standalone Black Friday game at 2:00 Central, 3 Eastern. So that'll be a fun one as well.
Yeah, that'll be interesting with the Jets team, who's playing good defense. Defense is keeping them in a lot of games. Obviously, that'll definitely be somewhat of an interesting game. What about that game? How about that? The Jets and the Eagles game. We didn't talk about that, but this was a game that I know on Wednesday when me, ODB, and Tony did the Print Factory, we were all kind of higher on the Jets from like a betting standpoint. Like we think this game could be a game where the Jets could stay in it and have a shot to win. You know what I mean? And we like the Jets on that show. And it kind of played out exactly how I thought. And you know what? Jalen Hurts, he hasn't looked as good at times here. And you saw some frustration from guys. Devontae Smith 2 weeks ago. A.J. Brown was like on the field yelling at some point because he like clearly missed them on just like a, cross the field route, like just really easy drag route and just threw a bad pass. Like, I don't know. Like that to me is interesting with the Eagles getting Miami now.
Any word on Lane Johnson?
No, but
I haven't seen anything.
That's a big loss if they have to be without him for any amount of time. That's for sure a big
Positive
loss.
prognosis is all I'm seeing right now.
Well, I'm sure if he's, if he can play, I'm sure he'll try and play, but those dudes are tough. But either way, Jalen Hurts, I think, I think he will eventually play better, but clearly, there's been some struggles first part of the season. Is it just like Russ timing? Like what is it with Jalen Hurts or the offense just in general? It's nothing.
I don't know. The question is,
it's nothing.
All the coaches leave it. Like, I think that the coaches leaving is a big factor when all these head coaches all these assistant coaches become the head coaches. You have to figure out a way to reload, and it's just not as easy as people think it is. Like when and I'll use as an example just because I live here, but the Titans losing Arthur Smith has really impacted this team long term on that realm. The Titans just look absolutely horrible. We saw they played Sunday morning, and they just looked like absolute garbage, and they've looked like garbage every week this season so far, except
they're going to continue to look like garbage with Malik Willis at quarterback.
Yeah, the conversation is do they go with Malik or do they go with Levis, because they think the expectation is that they think that Tannehill is going to be out for a few weeks at least, but they don't look right. The team looks like a mess, and I think it dates back to a couple of years ago now, where you had the moment that Arthur Smith left as their OC and on there as one of their main coaches after who left before. Who's the Green Bay coach? I'm blanking. Why am I blanking?
Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, so LaFleur was before him. So like you continue losing these coaches that come from the same systems, and you can't just reenact it and make it happen again every time as well. So at some point, you're going to hit the coaches that just are not as talented as the others. So
yeah, it could be it. It could be what was it? The offensive coordinator left from last year, Fallick.
Well, they fired. It was Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator after Matt LaFleur, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And after Arthur Smith left, it became whatever his name was, and he was terrible. And then after this guy, and then they fired him, and now it's Tim Kelly, who used to be the Texans' offensive coordinator.
Well, get ready because D-Hop's going to make things worse too, because he's going to get frustrated with Malik Willis back there at quarterback, and then you'll see him blow up either this week or next week, or if it's Will Levis,
they're frustrated. They're on a bye week. They're on a bye week this week, and that's what makes this really. If I remember correctly, the NFL trade deadline is like right after week 8.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And October 31st. So it's on Tuesday, October 31st. And so 2 weeks from now. And so teams are going to have to make some big decisions because Titans are definitely one of them because they have only 4 or 5 draft picks this upcoming year. So they have to make decisions on what they're going to do.
I will say that their schedule coming up: Falcons, Steelers, Bucks, Jaguars, Panthers, Colts. I mean,
toss-ups for every single one of them.
That's not a tough. That's not like a real tough stretch right there. That's a pretty favorable stretch, right?
They have the 3rd easiest schedule rest of season, and Texans have the 2nd, I believe, rest of season or something like that is what I saw somewhere. I can't remember who's number 1, but Texans 2 and Titans 3.
Yeah, I mean that'll be interesting. All right, anything else here while I get Bryce's cash lineups up? If there's anything else, talk about it while I pull Bryce's cash lineup up.
Looking at the Texans upcoming schedule for the rest of the year: Carolina, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, Arizona, Jacksonville at home because they already beat them on the road. Denver, New York Jets, Tennessee, Cleveland, Tennessee, and Indianapolis. Literally every single one of those teams could easily not be a playoff team this year. Like they have maybe playing Cincinnati and Jacksonville are the only 2 teams that have a chance of the playoffs at this point, like that you would put on a favorable towards the playoffs.
I think the Texans, honestly, I think you said it, like, are the Texans like bad or are they like decent? I think they're more on the lines of decent than bad. Like you were talking about the Saints being overrated. Like I think the Texans are a solid football team. I think CJ Stroud's solid. I think they've got pieces around them to be decent and to be competitive, honestly. So I would lean more good, but then they lose to the Falcons. Like, are they good? We see it all the time though. San Francisco loses to the Browns. Eagles lose to the Jets. Are they bad because they lost to teams that aren't as good, or is it just like NFL week to week league? Anyone can
variance. Teams will get up and down. I mean, the San Francisco game had god awful weather. If you guys were able to catch any of that piece of shit game, I mean, your best player gets hurt. Debo gets hurt. It's just kind of a situation. I mean, they had a 40-yard field goal to win too. And the guy missed it. I hate kickers, as always. But, I doubt people – I don't play the Survivor stuff. I doubt people use San Fran on the road, but could have knocked some people out. I mean, the Bills could have ended some Survivors last week with the Giants, too, if they remember how to play football. So
that would have been, I think, the biggest kicker if for Survivor anyways, right? Bills, Giants. Had to be one of the bigger ones. Like if the Bills,
that
lost.
Or like the Dolphins. I think the Rams might have been a decent one. I think that was like the best spot to use the Rams from what John was saying.
That was, by the way, that Dolphins game. The easiest bet in the world was the over in that game. The over hit, like the over almost hit at halftime. It was unreal. It was a blessing that Carolina got up early. It worked out like perfectly for the over, but. All right,
look at this choo-choo train. This is quite the choo-choo.
Yeah, we got a nice train here.
I was not expecting it to be such a train, and it lost in lower stakes. I thought I was a massive favorite going into the afternoon games. I mean, if you look at all the snowflakes on this team, Hollywood should have had. I mean, he could have had 40 points if Dobbs remembered how to throw a football. He missed on probably 4 deep passes, 2 of which were easy completions. Hollywood touchdown gets me there. Jacobs bonus or touchdown gets me there. He has 30 touches in a home win. Stafford ran absurdly bad he had some drop touchdowns. Kyron ran one in. It was a very frustrating afternoon set of games for me on both sides. I was in an elite position. Less so on FanDuel, and I won on FanDuel. This team ended up losing on DraftKings. I think if I was to go back, I think the one mistake, and it's easy to say now, is not playing Adam Thielen at 5.9K and just simply dropping defense or dropping Jacobs to like a Joe Mixon type of guy or whoever you liked, or to like Kyron. I didn't want 2 Panthers. I think that was the error in my thinking. And, 2 Panthers was fine because, they were both cheap enough to get there. Like, it didn't take tons for them to get there. And it's easy to say that now after Thielen exploded, but his role is just so elite. And combined with Hollywood's missed opportunities, it hurts a little more. It ends up being, a 30-point swing instead of like a 10-point swing. So that was somewhat tilting. If you played Thielen, you won in general on DraftKings. I think he was 20% owned in high stakes. I don't necessarily think it was a huge mistake, but I was underrating, the quality of Panthers garbage time. And, the Panthers, both of them got there in the first half when like Miami was still trying. The Jacksonville guys, I had them on both sides, got kind of fucked by game script. They were up massive and didn't have to throw it all in the second half. The Lions defense ran pretty well. Baker was awful to only give up 6 points and stay in that points bracket. I had Mostert as a lock, and you can see that most high stakes players did. I had Chase as a lock as well, and Kirk 5.4. I mean, I played Kirk on FanDuel. No one played him on FanDuel. Everyone played Pittman over him, and that had ended up being just kind of a game script decision. Or game script outcome. So, I mean, the afternoon guys all came in when Fallick, when you said you wanted to, blow your brains out, I was up at my fiance's family's house, and while they like football, they're not, and it's hard to be into football as much as I am. So I'm just tilting my brains off. I'm like, come on, give me something, because this team was not very far off from being a winner. I think you needed like over 140 points. So like 1 touchdown does it from Marquise or Jacobs. I think I needed about 25 points combined from them to win on DraftKings, and that them not being able to get there when they both could have gotten there single-handedly was a pretty tilting outcome.
All right. Fallick, I don't know if you have any questions. I got to ask some questions about this team here because Josh Jacobs at 7K, 45% owned. It talked to me about, I want to hear your thought process on him as a play. Now, in my head, this could be your thought process. I think Vegas wins. I think New England sucks. I think they're ahead the whole game. And Josh Jacobs in that situation, if they're ahead, is going to get fed. And New England's been playing really bad. So I assume like that would be it. But
that's pretty much it. I thought he was a safer bet for touches than any other running back on the slate. He had 30 touches. I thought his efficiency would be better in this game, to be honest. Jimmy G was awful in the first half. He missed him on tons of short passes that could have racked up some points. He ran really bad by the goal line. Every time they got inside the 10, they had a penalty. So he didn't even get any goal line opportunities. I don't think Jacobs was a bad play. He was kind of a last guy in for me on both sites. I played him on FanDuel. Not a lot of people did
That's
that
how it
at
looks
all.
to me is last play. So, and
Yeah,
I'm
he
assuming
was
you
kind of
didn't play Kyron because of Stafford, right? That was my other question.
I didn't play Kyron because I didn't think the Vikings were an upgrade on the Lions defense. And I'm okay with having quarterback and running back in the same game. Kyron had been ceding some snaps to Ronnie Rivers, which kind of concerned me a bit. So I just kind of figured I would take the Vegas piece here. I really like Vegas in this spot. The Kyron Vikings team was good. The other team I looked at was bad, Montgomery, who obviously ran bad and got hurt, and the Bucks. Those were kind of the three combos of last guys in. I did look at some Thielen teams, as I said earlier, and I think he was probably a meaningful upgrade on Hollywood just because, he has a much higher floor. Hollywood's a much more boom or bust type of guy who I don't love to play in cash games, but 5.3 is a very attractive price on him.
Yeah, the price tag makes sense on him. The other guy, I'm stunned in cash. What was Tyreek Hill's ownership? Do you know in cash?
Almost non-existent.
Really? Because from a floor perspective, that has to be because of Mostert, right?
He was 2.9% in this contest.
Wow.
If people paid up, they paid up for Cup, who was 7%, and those were a little higher in higher stakes than low stakes. I was pretty locked into a 3 running back week because I thought I had Mostert and Chuba as locks. So I thought there was 5 really good running back plays between Jacobs, Montgomery, ETN, Kyron, and Mixon. After that, between 7 and 6K. So, you're getting a 3K discount and you don't have to punt someone like Robert Woods or Josh Downs, who both happen to score. I thought I was all over it this week and, kind of deserved a better result, but that's football. And sometimes things go your way and sometimes they don't. In hindsight, the one move I would make is probably downgrading Jacobs. I think there was a 2.4 defense. I think probably Jacobs or to Kyron, getting Brown up to Thielen, and then just playing a different defense, whichever one fit at I think 2.5K. I was honestly fine with the Browns defense at 2.2K if it came down to it. San Fran's not the type of defense you want to or offense you want to play against, but super shitty weather game at home with a good defense for 2.2K, I thought was a totally fine play.
Yeah, Fallick, any questions with this cash lineup from you or anything?
Well, I think we everybody just overthought the fact that why aren't we playing, like we played Amon-Ra St. Brown all the time in however many past weeks, and just because he came back from injury, nobody played him, and that was my number one frustration on my end, at least, was like, why am I not playing this guy? He's getting 12, 10 targets every single game, and he has touchdown equity and everything like that. So I feel like a galaxy brain that one, and I'm sure Bryce felt the same way after looking at it, I'm guessing. I don't know if you felt that way at the beginning or what, but I just looked back on it. I was like, why didn't anybody play this guy? Just really frustrated me. Like, that was the biggest frustration I had, was like, I wanted to play a Tampa guy, which ended up obviously not working anyways, but playing Amon-Ra felt like a play that we should have been considering a lot more than we were, and would have been a really
100%. One of my best friends, Jack Dillon, just joined RPS this season. And he's had a great season. He played Amon-Ra on FanDuel where he was like 2% and almost shipped him the monster. He ended up winning like 35K off of it. So, yeah, I mean, Amon-Ra without Gibbs is really good. And I think we get a really interesting spot this week. The Ravens are a tough matchup, but Gibbs is absurdly cheap. So that's something to look out for if Montgomery's out. I expect Gibbs to be back this week.
Yeah, it looks like he's probably trending towards being out too, right, Montgomery? I think they.
they basically said he's out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to be out. So you're going to see Gibbs and the Craig Reynolds, 1,
Yep.
2. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
it should be interesting. Let's go over to FanDuel here. Greg says I need a haircut. You don't got to tell me that, Greg. I know I need a haircut. I'm getting a haircut.
I need a
actually
haircut, Dad.
tomorrow.
I got a haircut today.
Oh my!
This morning.
Nice. Love that.
You get the sides nice and good. My dad was totally bald.
Sucks.
I need to be careful.
Sucks.
I need to be careful with my haircuts because my little power alley things are fading away a bit. So
Can we talk about real quick
how
how amazing those blocks were by Craig and Josh Reynolds on that touchdown, by the way? Who scored that?
That block by Craig Reynolds was insane, where he just ran up for Amon-Ra to get in the end zone.
Yep. Just
that was so
incredible. I was like, I literally said that is a Dan Campbell, like, just proud moment. He probably felt like a proud papa.
Dan Campbell is going to give Craig Reynolds extra looks just for that play this coming week. He's going to get more run just because of that play. He loves that type of shit. Gets them all fired up. It was a really good block, though. A really, really good block. All right, so your FanDuel team here, Jalen Hurts, Joe Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, Christian Kirk, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, Evan Ingram, Josh Jacobs, and the Bears D. Talk about this team here a little bit and, what kind of happened on some of the differences between FanDuel and DraftKings, because there are some differences between your teams on the two sites.
Yeah. I mean, I had Chuba as a lock. I thought he was simply too cheap, and he kind of made everything fit. Cooper Kupp was, 8,700, and he was like cheaper than Chase and Tyreek by a good margin. And on DraftKings, it wasn't that way. Cooper Kupp has one of the highest floors you see. In a high stakes contest, he's 90% owned, and in low stakes, he's closer to like 70. So while everyone thought Cooper Kupp was a good play, the high stakes guys really hammered him home. ETN was. I had Mixon as a lock at 7K. I was kind of surprised more people didn't play him. Positive game script at home with a back who has normally a really good workload. He only had 15 touches. I'm super over Joe Mixon. I hate when I have to play him. I had Evan Ingram as a lock. He was at 5.5K. He was simply too cheap for me. I was totally fine with the Bears defense at 3.2K, so I did not mind teams that punted them.
Real quick, hey, JSU, can you get rid of the bottom banner? Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, there were some Vikings teams. Basically, if you played Vikings on either site in cash, you won. They were the stand-away defense, and it always helps when the quarterback gets hurt in game. Pittman was my big fade. I didn't love him with Minshew. I kind of worried about the Colts' offensive efficiency. I really liked the Jaguars in the spot. And one of the reasons I didn't play ETN was kind of because I didn't want 3 Jaguars. I kind of thought it was too much to invest from a single team. A running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end. Christian Kirk has been getting tons of targets with Zay Jones out and is actually getting way more targets than Ridley. So if you penciled him in as the wide receiver 1, I kind of preferred him to a Michael Pittman style guy. Pittman obviously got there, but it helps when you're down 3 touchdowns and playing from behind the whole game. The biggest decision point to me on this slate where I thought I had an advantage was playing Jalen Hurts. When most people played, you could see some Tua there. It's just the team I selected, but most people in this contest, it was pretty evenly split outside of Hurts between Stafford and Burrow. And, on FanDuel, especially where there's no bonuses, I'd much prefer running quarterback. He just has such a high floor and high upside. I mean, he had 18 points at halftime and got 4 in the second half. The Eagles just really fucked up in the second half. Devonta Smith dropped what would probably have been a 50-yard touchdown. He put it right between his numbers. I could have used a little more from Hurts. The cash lines were much higher, and it was kind of opposite on FanDuel and DraftKings. In low stakes, the cash lines were much lower than high stakes on FanDuel, and then in DraftKings, the cash lines and high stakes were actually lower. Like if you compare like the $25 double up to like, or like the $10 to like the 530, which is what I show you guys each week, just to kind of get a sense of what the other like top players around the industry are doing and how they're thinking. Jalen Waddle for me, there's a lot of good tier, middle tier receivers on FanDuel. I was always playing him at 6.8K. I just really wanted more Miami offensive exposure because, I kind of thought 8.5 was too much for Mostert, but, in retrospect, probably drop. Joe Mixon is just not it. Even with his role, he's not. His efficiency is just so bad. And if he's getting his 20 touches a game in a home script where they're winning, he's not going to get there. The Bengals just could not move the ball in the second half. So, yeah.
I think that's one of the things with Joe Mixon, like in the Bengals offense, like they're just a little unreliable and they don't run the football well. And Joe Mixon's not that good anymore. And I think people are starting to realize it. Like this guy's just
I was able to overcome ETN's game because my spend ups were correct. The Hurts and Cup were like the two spend ups that I was locked into playing pretty much. So that one worked out on FanDuel. I think I made about 60% return on investment there, and I lost a decent amount on DraftKings. So overall, it was a slight negative weekend. Get Chase Brown in the game. Joe Mixon, they kind of not begged him to come back, but they made him restructure his deal. And, it's obvious he wants to be a part of that team, but he has lead feet. It's so frustrating to watch him play football.
Yeah, so a few things to take away. One, from this team, for me anyways, or from your cash builds, you have no problem with playing two guys from the same offense, not even paired with your quarterback.
That's
long as they're priced.
Yeah,
correctly.
you put them on. The question is, you put them on both sites. Is that something that you normally would do, especially with wide receivers? Because in theory, if you play them,
kind of fell into the builds. Christian Kirk at 5.4K was a stone lock for me on DraftKings. He should be. He's 1K underpriced in that spot. And on Evan Ingram, you can say the same thing on FanDuel at 5.5K. He led the team in targets.
Sure, but you're saying the other players though. I think that's the question I'm asking. Is you have on FanDuel, which is is less PPR, more touchdown dominant, or whatever you want to call it. Is it better to only play one of them when you're needing to get equity on that side?
Not really. I would have been concerned if I had ETN in there too with them. Like I probably wouldn't have played Kirk with ETN. I was always playing Ingram. So I think that would be too much to invest in one team. Also, I've learned to kind of try and not worry about how much you're investing in one team in cash because they can all get there for cash games. And that fucked me up on DraftKings with the Hubbard and Thielen decision. If I played Thielen, I might have played Foreman over Chuba, just to not have too many Panthers. But they can all get there. I think it's more of a matter of when you're spending a ton of money on one team, they really need to get there. Like say you have like a Mahomes Kelsey, like if they don't go absolutely, like if they don't do very well, then you're absolutely fucked. So, and that I think that's going to be what a lot of people might do this week if we get some value, simply because the Chiefs Chargers game is like the only good total.
So I want to go back real quick because I missed this question here from Drew, who I know Drew, he's a member. He was talking about cash. He said, I pretty much had this exact same team in cash, except when Fields Foreman 49ers. Any feedback on that? In cash, obviously.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was more viable to spend up on defense this week with the 49ers, simply because there was so much value in you had 4 pretty good cheap plays. Chuba, Foreman. I worried about Foreman's equity a little bit more than Hubbard's, just because, Foreman had played 5 snaps all year. Chuba's pretty well cemented in the NFL as a player. So, I mean, not that Foreman isn't, just not this season. He worried me a little bit. Fields, I loved at 7.3K, and you could tell that in the preview show. If the weather was good in Chicago, I would have played Fields at 7.3K. The windy weather and the total getting bet down heavily really got me off Fields there, which was lucky because I would have played him and he got hurt. So I think that the only way that I don't think playing Fields and Foreman together is wrong at all. I think playing them together in a game that's windy when Justin Fields relies a lot on his legs in the deep ball or how Justin Fields gets there. So the deep ball is going to be more affected by wind. The wind was enough to scare me off. And I think that that wind is the one thing that really concerns me in football games. And, if you see a total can get consistently bet down, it takes a lot to move NFL totals. So, if the total is moving a lot, that's definitely cause for concern for me. And I think I actually took Justin Fields off our cash charts completely on my Sunday update. I would need to go back and double check that. If I didn't, it was a mistake. And maybe I should have made that clearer in chat. But I just didn't want position players from that game. I thought it could be super dusty, and it ended up being super dusty. But obviously, Fields ran bad because he got hurt.
Yeah, it obviously doesn't help when Fields gets hurt, and they are down, and he potentially could have maybe drove them down the field. But at the same time, that's something where, if you have those questions, make sure you ask them in the Discord. I know Drew's in the Discord, so make sure if you
I
try
and answer every cash question I can on NFL Sundays. I don't have a show on Sundays, and that's kind of by design by us. So I can be one of the ones in Discord helping you out. So just any questions, feel free to tag me. When
he says you did take him off. I was just stubborn, and he says thanks a lot. So
I mean, it's a really nice price on him. I totally get the play.
Here's what I'd say. Let me take this, Schlong, because I got a good answer for Drew here.
Yeah.
This is what I'd say, because nobody is more stubborn in the world when it comes to DFS than I am. I am the most stubborn person in the world. Let me just say one thing, though. I think that in tournaments, you can be stubborn with your convictions. I would say in cash, I would lean on Schlong's advice. I would lean on, the tournament GPP is where it sickens you if you were on a guy that no one else was on, and that guy could have potentially won you $100K or $1 million. That's what sickens you. You know what I mean? But in the double up, in my mindset, this is how I think about it anyways, but in a double up format, cash head-to-head type format is not where you want to be stubborn, right? That's where you want to for sure take the advice of the guys that are playing a ton and have been doing it. It's what will kill you is if you swap off of a guy that could have won you a milli maker or could have won you $100K in a tournament. That's when I think it's okay to be a little stubborn. If you just have a take that, I don't know, Jamison Williams is going to catch 2 deep balls for touchdowns and he's 3,600 and no one's on him, go play him. You know what I mean? That's fine. But I think in cash, try your best to be a little less stubborn. Be stubborn in tournaments. That's what I would say. It's okay to be a little stubborn when it comes to tournaments, because those are the plays that, in tournaments, can win. But I don't know. That's my take on it. Falik, anything else from you?
Nope, I'm good.
Beautiful. All right. I think we got through that pretty good. And if you guys have any more questions, if you want us to review anything, for next week, you can always send us lineups. If you have your own lineups that you want us to review, like Drew was talking about in the chat, just kind of saying his lineup. But if you want us to actually show your lineup and review it, you can always send us a screenshot. We do prefer, though, if you do send us a screenshot, it be from your desktop, right? Not from your phone. a screenshot from your desktop. The ones like we're showing with Third and Schlong's cash teams, those type of screenshots are preferable, which would be desktop screenshots. So if you're a member and you want us to shoot us a screenshot, you can always DM me or Bryce or Phallic, and we can definitely talk about it on the show next week. So that's that. Make sure you guys hit the like button on your way out of here. Obviously, NHL, big slates today. We've got awesome NHL content over on the site. Tons of guys in there in the Discord, chopping it up all throughout the day. 50K up top in the large field GPP, and then you got a higher dollar GPP, $360, I think it is, entry, and you got 100K to first. So make sure if you guys want to check out the hockey stuff over at Run Pure Sports, not a ton going on right now. Also, the bet side's been smashing. I think premium plays went 4-1 yesterday. I don't even know JBC's record on premium plays from for the last week, but I think it's like something stupid like 29-5 or something like that in the last week or so. So if you want to check out some of the best betting content in the industry, get over to Run Pure Sports, sign up for the bet side, jump in the Discord. All the bets are posted. They at everyone. Make sure you have your alerts on and check it out because it's great stuff. Ton of action all throughout the day. And Brandon said it. I was just about to say it. NBA 1 week away. I'm ready. I'm ready, Brandon. I'm gonna be. I'm a sicko, so I'll watch the preseason games and go back. Not many people do that, but I just love basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport. It's not even close. I could watch basketball any day, anytime. Doesn't matter the team. I love basketball. It could be a Tuesday. I'll watch the Wizards, Pacers, and get made fun of for it, but I don't care. I'm a basketball nerd. So what do you want? Phallic, final words from you.
I can't believe basketball is 1 week away.
Right?
Just comes quick.
I'm ready for basketball. I'm not sure if I'm ready for touting basketball. I know Mark and I have had this discussion, just how much crazier the season will get. Typically, our plan for basketball is to have Mark do stuff earlier in the day, and then I'll do more up to lock stuff in the Discord, trying to answer your guys' questions. But if any users have issues with the product or how we have it planned out, we think we have it planned out super great. We're all very fired up for basketball season, but we always appreciate feedback, and that can go to any of us. Constructive criticism is always something that we welcome. We want to get you guys the best information, and Mark is NBA is Mark's best sport, and adding him to our team of NBA who's already here is it's super formidable, and I think it's pretty tough to top. So we're super excited for NBA, and hope to give you guys a great product, and would appreciate any feedback that you guys have with in the first week of the season with how the split's working between Discord and shows and stuff. But we'll have you covered for sure.
Yeah, we'll have you covered, and you guys know up to lock. We'll have you guys covered there in the Discord. So sign up now. I think the promo, if you want a promo code right now, RPS15 is the promo code right now. So yeah, RPS15 gets you 15% off your first month's payment over at Run Pure Sports. So go over to Run Pure Sports, use the RPS15, check out everything we got, the bet side, the DFS side, Saber Sim. Try it out because it's really good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. For K Phallic, Third and Schlong, I'm JSU. Good luck in all your contests. Go get the hockey winners tonight, baby. We're out.